Right, so it's just a move animation. Yeah. You click on the picture, you click animations to add a move and that's it. Yeah. We'll talk a lot more about animations when we talk about bad J's. Yes. I go into the building. Okay, we'll talk about that when we get to bad jacks, which will be where's bad jacks? After combining audio. So I'll get into audio first, and then we'll do this. All right. So we're going to get rid of this, and I'm actually going to close this since I messed everything up. And now, where is Audacity? Audacity. Okay, so how do you combine different sentences or different people talking to make it sound like you want it to? If you open Audacity, so if you have Audacity, go ahead and open it. I will open this. I think I opened this one last night. So this is. Can you hear? Why is it playing from my computer? Speakers. See if I can resolve the sound issue here.
What's this? What's that?
Can you guys hear though? If you can hear, I'll just go ahead. Don't worry about this one. Okay. So you take your original file, and then if you go and grab your sound that we talked about before. So if we take our male zombie roar, and I don't want to put anything else, and download our male zombie roar. Okay. Then you go back to Audacity, and I want to put that
Come here. Okay, Mr. Lee.
I don't want the kids to say, okay, Mr. Lee. I want them to be very unhappy with Mr. Lee. So again, if you look at when we play it, where the sound is, right? So everybody knows that part.
Come here.
So he says come here, then I want to pause it there. I want to open the file that I just downloaded. So find my download folder, Male Zombie Roar. Right? This is my Male Zombie Roar. So I Control X. Most of the word commands work in most programs. So I've got this selected. Choose this. I want to cut it. I want to paste it in this one. So now here's what it sounds like. If I go back to the beginning. That's not what I wanted to happen, right? So I grab this and pull it to the side. After Mr. Lee says what he wants to say, now go back.
Come here. Okay, Mr. Lee.
Look, and then I said, so it'll play wherever you put it inside this, inside your original file. If you want this to be later, then
Come here. Okay, Mr. Lee.
Right, so each section you can move it around and cut it and paste it. You can do all of the different effects. So you have lots of different effects here that you can play with different filters. You can make yourself sound like a robot. You can make yourself higher pitch or lower pitch and all of those different kinds of things. Which, while we're talking about that, and I've got my hard drive plugged in, I think I can find a silly story for name. There, come on, come on. Silly stories. So for your silly stories, all of them that I've ever made, I think are all here. Okay, well, several of them. Name and age. So this one's for grade 1. You download. is, right?
I'm 10 years old. What's your name?
My name is Madison.
How old are you?
And this is all me.
I'm 8 years old. What's your name? My name is Logan. How old are you? I'm 6 years old. What's your name?
My name is Ella.
How old are you?
I'm 4 years old. What's your name?
Gotta have drama at the end. Oh. No drama yet. I'm sorry. Drama's the first.
My name is Savannah. I'm 300 years old.
So everything except the screaming at the end is my voice, just changed around with the audio effects. The good thing about this, all you have to do is teach what's your name, my name is, and the numbers, and they can give any numbers they want. They love this activity because they get to say Angela. So they can write Angela on their paper, and then they can write, you know, a billion, or they can write 2, or they can write anything they want. And then they get to share and laugh as they talk about their classmates and say, oh, you're 25 years old. Oh, you're a billion years old. Oh, you're only 1 year old. So they have a lot of fun just because it's interacting with their classmates and making something about it. Okay. So, anyway, this is in the Facebook group that I mentioned before. Just follow this link. There's another, here I said I was retiring from EFL. And then this is another link. There are a few links down through here. So that has literally all 8 years of my public school teaching materials that were good enough to share with other people or not directly copyrighted. Okay, so that takes us through where our last week goes. Right, so for Gloria, I think you guys asked specifically about this. But any other questions about audio, shifting it around to get things to be where they want? Then you can change this. So say, for example, you took the effect. The pitch change, you want to change the pitch from F to, anybody know music? Sorry, I'm absolutely not musically talented in any way, shape, or form. To A, I don't even know what that means. So then we will go back and do it again. Oops, I changed the bell too.
Come here.
So if I want to undo that, I don't want to change the bell, I only want to change the teacher. So I only select the teacher, then go back to the effect, change the pitch again, change the pitch from E to G to F, I'm going to change it B. It's further away, so it'll be obvious. Back again. So now the bell is the same, I didn't change the bell.
Come here.
But the teacher's not very good.
Okay.
That's not nearly dramatic enough. So I want to change the pitch. How do I make it go lower? Who knows? I honestly don't know anything about music. Is B lower or is C lower? C. Here, I just changed this. Percent change. Oh, here we go. Woo! Right, all right. So we'll try that out. And I want to give it around with all the different effects and move everything wherever you want. Okay. Other questions about audacity? Again, I did most of the work that I did before was all in Goldway. They're similar enough that if you know one really well, you can work with the other one. But there are some differences. The biggest advantage of this is you have this different track. If I don't want the nails on me there, I want it back here, I can just grab it and move it. And it's not going to mess up my first one. And since here, I just cut and pasted this one, I can actually move that back and match it up where it was. So Audacity, in that sense, is actually much better than Goldway. Questions? Okay. Okay? Alright, so next is the bad jacks. Do you guys know how to do the card trick? Sorry, I'm laughing because my son is far too smart. When I first learned this trick, I thought, wow, I can do the best magic trick in the world. I thought it was so cool. And I practiced it and I practiced it. And then I said, Skyrim, come here, come here, come here. And I sat him down on the floor in front of me and I put the cards down and I told him the whole story and I did it. And then he just looked at me. Oh, you do some cards. How can you know that? He, without blinking an eye, no expression, he completely destroyed my magic trick. He's very, very good at logical thinking. You know, we played board games and stuff growing up, so he's very good at analyzing things and taking things apart. On a similar note, obviously I really like board games. We bought a new board game, and we took it to Kanding, we set it up on the bed, and we were playing the game. And he wanted to do something in the game that I didn't think was a very good idea. So I told him, he wanted, anyway, for his sake, he wanted to buy Coco cards, which sounds very weird. But I thought it was a bad idea to waste your resources on Coco cards. You should surely build more pirate ships. I know it sounds really stupid. But he was like, no, I'm going to do what I want. I was like, all right, but when I destroy you, don't come crying to daddy. We play the game. I lost so badly on that game. And we had to play that game like 15 times before I could beat him. He beat me every single time we played. I was so happy when I finally beat him on that game. Anyway, any idea how to do the card trick? No? Okay. So the trick is, where are my jacks? Right. So you have your 4 jacks, right? And I said, that is the tower, and my jacks come and they jump on top of the tower, right? But I lied to you. I had 4 jacks, and 4 more cards on top of the jacks. So you only see jack, but there are 8 cards in my hand. If you do this for your class, this is what you have to practice. Because when you show them, you have to say jack number 1, jack number 2, jack number 3, and jack number, you always have to, jacks never listen, they don't cooperate. Oh, there's jack number 4. So you have to hide the other 4 cards and try to somehow show them those 4 cards. This is why I'm bad at magic. I can't do it. So anyway, you take the jacks, then you put them on top. When you put the first jack on the bottom, you do this so that nobody can see it, but actually you're just putting a random card on the bottom. Another random card in the middle, another random card here, and another random card here. So then when you get to the top, then it's jack number 1, jack number 2, jack number 4. Okay? Okay, so that is that. Next time I can teach you my other card trick, but it's useless for lessons. Can't use it to teach it in, but it surprises people the first time you do it, and then they're like, wait a minute. Alright, so I'm going to close this. We're going to go, well, I destroyed my presentation, so Does anybody know how you can make the jacks go anywhere? I'm going to turn my head and see if anybody can. Right, so this is the jack. Put that up. Okay. How do you make the jacks go anywhere? Does anybody know? PowerPoint is very limited. It's not like some program. Okay, it's not very limited. Some of the things that PowerPoint can do are limited. Like some computer programs, you can just grab the jack and pull it around the screen. You can't do that on PowerPoint. So you have to prepare for every eventuality. So there are 4 cards, right? In the tower, there are 16 cards. Every jack is actually in every room. So, if I cue this up to go, and the jacks are there, okay, you can draw this. This jack is here, this jack is also here, this jack is also here, and this jack is also here. If I can do that, if I did that with every room, all 4 jacks are in all 4 rooms. Okay? So, how do I know what you're going to steal? Me being very smart. No. That is me being very well prepared. You can steal literally everything in every single room. I think they're all in this room. If you wanted to steal the dresser, you could steal the dresser. I think if I click here, it's going to go to the next slide. Oh, now the police are going to come. What? No, why not? What's going on? What? It's not doing anything. Why is it not doing anything? This is another very important lesson. You should turn off slideshow. Not slideshow. No, transitions. Okay. On transitions, if you have on mouse click, then it will go to the next slide on the mouse click. If you turn that off, you cannot make it go to the next slide by using your mouse. You can using the wheel, but you can't by clicking on it. But that says on mouse click. Why would you do it? 6 years ago, I don't remember how I did that. So I will come back in here again, and I will put some of it. I'll show you some of this stuff here in a second. But for example, you can go in here. So if I click him, actually what happens now is there are 4 things here you can't see. There's a trigger here, a trigger here, and a trigger here, and a trigger here. If I click on this one, it will tell this one to appear. If I click on this one, it will tell this one to appear. If I click on this one, it will tell this one to appear. If I click on this one, it will tell that one to appear. And when I click on any of those triggers, then all of the other triggers disappear. So it's basically a lot of big loops. But you have to build all of those loops into the animations. So when you see the animations, I'm preparing you emotionally. When you see the animations, it's really long. Because again, I had to prepare for every eventuality. So I'm going to make it go here, and you can even steal the shampoo bottle. Because every single thing in that room is triggered to every single jack that can go into that room. So that's 4 times as many animations as it otherwise would be. Which, once you build the basic structure, it's actually quite fast to run through the animations. What takes a long time is coming up with the ideas and drawing the pictures and things like that. But again, this is all from the haunted house. If you do a really good job on project number 1, you can use half of that on project number 2. And anything else? You can click the Twitter word at any time because it's just triggered to the Twitter word. And set it to 1. Okay, so now we're going to come in here. View, no, not view, home, arrange, selection panel. So these are all of the pieces some slide. When I didn't know what I was doing, the card games that I showed you before, where you pass out the cards, I built the entire thing on one slide. So it was like 25 layers thick of slides. So if I wanted to change one thing, I had to dig through the whole thing. So that's when eventually I thought, what am I doing? So at every point I could, I would break it to the next slide. And then that way there are usually only a few pictures thick, so you can edit it much easier. Right, so some of them I have labeled, for example, Jack of Clubs, Jack of Diamonds, Jack of Hearts, Jack. And then there are, you can see the jacks inside here. So if I grab my tower and, oh, sorry, that's a trigger. That's probably another trigger. That's another trigger. That's another trigger. That's another trigger. There's another trigger. Oh my gosh. And, oh, there's another trigger. Ah, there's my cat. So all the jacks are in all of the rooms. Some of them I put them like behind the couch just to make it look more interesting. Behind the bathtub, behind the bed. And let's see, I'm going to grab all those triggers so you can see what's going on. I'm going to try to not crash my computer. That's not going to work. I'm going to grab. I don't want it to be full black. 50%. Just so you can see how the triggers and stuff work. Okay. So now that everything is all fixed up, come in. So now you can see how the different pieces pop up. So now you have different triggers and stuff popping up. Oh. What? So if I click on this jack, that trigger pops up. If I click on this trigger, that jack will appear wherever I put that, wherever I want him to basically. So then this jack comes in, a different trigger pops up. Oh, okay, hold on a second, sorry. First, get the jacks on top. Wait, there they are. One. Go. If I click on him, you will notice that all the rooms got darker. Because now there's a trigger here, a trigger here, a trigger here, and a trigger here. This one I didn't turn on. If I click on one of these triggers, so I'll click on this one, it's lighter. When I click on this, oops, clicked on the wrong one. Because I already pulled that one off. Okay, so I click on. Okay, so I click on him, and this is the first trigger, so I click on this trigger. This trigger will then trigger another trigger, and that trigger is something that I can see. Alright, so to show you the animations, animation pane. This first part until here is all sequential. It runs by itself, or if I click, it'll go to the next one. So that's where you see the rooms appearing and the jacks moving in and stuff like that. You can see here that right at the beginning there were weird boxes appearing and disappearing. That's because sometimes in PowerPoint, if you want to move something or whatever later on, you can't move it first because the thing isn't there. So you have to make it be there and then disappear right away. So that's why something might blink occasionally. It's all, again, like I said, this is what I did instead of playing video games at work when I was bored. You do the same logical reasoning, you do the same problem solving, you do all the things that you do in video games, but you have a really fun lesson at the end of it when you're done. Okay, so this is everything appearing in the castle. Then, if I click on the Jack of Clubs, which that is not the Jack of Clubs, it is actually a trigger. Oh, you still can't see because it's 99% transparent. I can do it a lot faster. Click. So click, click, click. Okay. 50% transparent. Hopefully this will help us see. Okay, so I click, and the Jack's coming out. Okay, so there's the Jack coming out. Basically, everything that's red is what I made. If it's not red, it's just a big. Come out. Okay, now there's a trigger over everything. Ah, this is why I couldn't click out. I put a trigger over everything. Why? Because if I click on this trigger, what's happening? You say nothing. I say it's getting 10% bigger. So this is a trigger that covers the entire screen. If I click on this trigger, this box, the red box that I'm pointing at, gets like 1% bigger and then goes back to the original size. The reason I had to do that is because I didn't know I could turn off the mouse click. Now I know I can turn off the mouse click, so I would just do that if I were doing it now. This was my fix for that. So I can click on this, I can click on anything. If I click on something that's above this trigger, then it will do what I told it to do. Right? So again, if I click on here, and you can see the triggers here. So now, this is something that I shouldn't click on because it's the wrong thing. So I just put a very simple animation so that it would trick PowerPoint into letting it do what I wanted it to do. Right? So right now, we're ready to go to the next one. Click on that. Then these triggers appear. If I click on this trigger, then it disappears when he comes in here. Now all of these things are triggered. You can see if I click here, it's not going to steal anything. If the hand pops up, then that means that object is triggered. So if I click on the couch, another trigger appears over it, which is basically keeping me from clicking on that again, and the couch disappears. So click, different triggers appear and disappear. Click here, different triggers appear and disappear. Click here, different triggers appear and disappear. Okay, so now everything else is blocked. I can't click that. There's nowhere else to go now because there are no more cards. So I click the bird, which is triggered to fly away, and then that also brings in place. Okay. So undo everything again. So to answer your question, how do I know what you're going to steal? I don't care what you're going to steal. You can steal literally anything you want. I just had to put an animation on every single thing to make sure that if you tried to steal it, you could. So if we look over here again real quick, unselect everything. So it's not working. Okay. I'm bogging down my computer a little bit. Okay. And then if we look down through here, you can see all of these are different triggers for every eventuality that you could possibly do. So if you click on the lamp will disappear. And then another trigger will pop up to furniture misclick. So the misclick trigger will pop up so that you can't mess up by clicking it again. The TV cabinet will disappear, the TV will disappear. And these are a little bit more complicated. If you click on the bird, the police bird will fly in. But all of this stuff will happen. All of the jacks will disappear because there are still 16 jacks. So I have to make them all go away at the same time. So all of the jacks disappear, everything runs away, and then the 4 jacks come in through the top of the castle. So that is so many questions. Okay. So if anybody ever walks past my classroom, they can always see me doing this. Every hour, I usually go in 30 minutes to work early, stay until 5 or 5:30 at night, just working on all this stuff all the time. If I wasn't teaching, I was doing stuff like that. But such a cool class. Okay, so any other questions about bad jacks? Just a lot of logistical planning, basically. A lot of preparation. All right, next we have, this is easy. Oh, we already covered this one. And that one. Okay, stop motion studio. We do it on Chromebooks. So, actually, I don't know if a laptop can do it or not, but I do know that you can do it on your phone. To use stop motion studio, it's actually ridiculously simple. It's so simple that my original curriculum was for something called iMotion Studio, which is for iPads. But I got 2 weeks into my lesson for iMotion Studio, and my school said you can't use iPads anymore because the students were basically hacking other students' accounts. And the computer guy in my department doesn't know anything about anything. So iPhones, iPads, anything. He doesn't know how to do any of this stuff. So he couldn't block them from using other students' accounts, or he couldn't get them to automatically log out. So I had to restart and try to find another program to use that we could still teach the same kind of stuff. So I did some internet searches, I watched some videos, etc. and so forth, and I found this thing called Stop Motion Studio. Stop Motion Studio works very, very similar to iMotion Studio. And it's so extraordinarily easy to use that I taught it to 3rd grade. They basically taught themselves. I had never used it before because the one that I had prepared to teach, they took away from me. As soon as we got the Chromebooks to work, we got everything downloaded the way it took like 3 weeks just to get the equipment to work correctly, which you can imagine is very frustrating. You only have 1 lesson per week. But just by downloading it and playing with the buttons, you can basically figure it out. So if you have a phone, I will download it now on my phone. Like I said, we use Chromebooks. So as far as I understand, it works exactly the same. Does everybody have a phone? then what it will do is you'll have a picture button. So you have to set your Chromebook or whatever to not move. So I actually, in my classroom, I built a frame. So I'm laughing because my students think I'm very strange, which I guess I am. I built a frame. Okay, so a Chromebook will lean like this, which means your picture, if you're on a straight plane, they use my whiteboard as their background. But then everything is at an angle. So I used an old drawer that I got from the dump years ago. I used two metal pieces, I guess, that I got from one of my cabinets at school. I used two hooks that you would hook. I'm looking for a fan. But when you hang a fan on the wall, there's a little metal latch on the wall, and then it fits under the back of the fan. So I used two of those that I kept from something that I took apart before, and I screwed them all together so that now in my classroom we have a Chromebook support that the students can put their Chromebook in. The two metal pieces hold it up like this, and then they can use Bluetooth mouses to click on the buttons and stuff. So this is what, when you download it, it looks just like this. I don't want to do it on my computer, I'm not sure. Then you just do new, and give it permissions, and then you literally just set it up. You draw a picture, click, draw another picture, click, draw another picture, click, draw another picture, click, draw another picture, click, or change the pictures around. Then you push play, and it plays all together. It's literally just that easy. There's no complicating factors to it whatsoever. I will show you another example that will hopefully help you see. Let's see. Where is my? That's the right one? Oh, sorry, that's the one. One student, her brother plays with Scratch constantly. That's what he does at home. Most kids will, play video games or whatever. He plays with Scratch. So he and his sister are very, very good at using the computers. Her name is Allie. I'm going to see if I don't think it's Allie's boy. This is the old one that they did, so you can see that it's much shorter. This is one of their rough drafts, so you can see their hands coming into the frame. They weren't communicating very well about when to take a picture. So that was, I think, a week or two ago, and now they've already progressed. Oh, this is it. No, this is, oh yeah, this is it. So again, she literally drew the picture, and then erased a little bit, took another picture, erased a little bit, took another picture, erased a little bit, took another picture. So it's literally just that simple. Right? So that is stop motion studio. And you can watch videos if you want to know more about it. The only important thing about it is onion skinning. You guys know what onion skinning is? Onion, the thing that you eat, the skin is very, very thin. So what happens is if you turn on onion skinning and you draw a picture, you take your photo, and then you erase it. You can see an image of the original picture so that you know what part to change and you don't mess up. And then when you click it again, the first picture disappears. The second picture has a shadow on it. Then you can see the second picture. You take the third picture, the second picture disappears. There's a skin from the third picture That's the only trick for stop motion studio, is knowing to turn on onion skin. Everything else is ridiculously simple. Any other questions about that? Because I haven't downloaded it or anything, so it'll take a really long time when we get into this. But you can take your phone and you can just do it with your phone just right now. Okay, so done with video, illustrations, stop motion studio, silly stories. All of them are on Facebook. I think 10, 12 of them, something like that, right? Yes. Okay. This is my name, and then professional development. Okay. So you just go to Facebook. If you search for, search for me, this is some old guy in the Czech Republic. I don't know who he is. I'm Facebook friends with him just because I thought it was funny. He had the same name as I did. Then this is me, and then this is professional development group. If you go in here, you can learn about if I'm going to present a workshop. And sometimes I will post it here. And originally, I used to do workshops about once a month, once every couple months. So when I got my new job, I asked them specifically to not give me any classes on Wednesday afternoon. Because Wednesday afternoon is when elementary school teachers don't have classes, so that's when all the workshops. So that's what that is. And Google Classroom, this is when we were doing online teaching. And I was having a lot of trouble myself with Google Classroom. I think this is something that I figured out that was very useful, so I was sharing that. Did you guys ever use Zoom? No. Okay. So in America, everybody used Zoom. In Taiwan, as far as I know, everybody used Google Classroom. So this is a friend of mine. He used to be a teacher in Taichung. Now he lives in California. So sometimes he'll go. Share a video with sound. Oh, so this is how to share something in Google. What's it called? Google Meet. Okay, so Google Meet, how to engineer the sound and stuff. So any problems that I encountered, I would figure it out, and then I would put it in my group for other people to help, hopefully help other people. Okay, so this is when I left Wuhan. I posted everything that I had right here. I think there might be another one underneath, but I'm not sure. This is 228, so 228时间. When I was teaching that, then I posted some stuff that I thought was hopefully useful. We're looking for a math teacher. No, I don't think you are. This is a song that I made. If you listen to it, turn the volume down. It's me singing. It's not very good. The video I really like, and the content I really like, but I'm a terrible singer. So, this is an interesting video about this. I really like the metal version. And I guess this is one. I thought I had two different links, but hopefully it's one. Oh, I think it's only one. Again, if you go in here, this is my old Google Drive for my old job. Some stuff for having social studies, new stuff, phonics, a workshop about phonics, and I used to do a lot of teaching. If you want something for rooms, then this is where the bad jacks is, so you can download it 100%, figure out how it works, use it yourself in your classroom. Silly stories, which is what these guys were looking for over here, so I've got about 10. Most of them are really fun. The students really enjoy doing all of them. A couple of them I never actually taught. I made them. Actually, I was hired to make them by. What is your school? Zhonghua, right? Zhonghua. No, not the videos. The school you were in Zhonghua, right? Okay. So basically the Bureau they had some money to spend on curriculum development. So they hired me to make some materials for the government. So this is what I made for the government to do that. Okay, so that is all of those. They're all based on the textbook. And then stories. This is the one that I showed you, which was the greatest treasure. The Lion and the Mouse, you guys already know, right? The Aesop's fable, the lion or the mouse trips over the lion grabs it. He says, please, please let me go, etc. and so on. And then this is the magic word. The magic words, I think, is 95% mine, and 5% some borrowed pictures. Greatest treasure is 100% all PowerPoint. I made it myself. The Lion and the Mouse, I was still learning how to make stories and stuff in PowerPoint, teaching myself how to do it. So a lot of those pictures are borrowed from Microsoft. But you can check those out. And here we have lots of other random stuff. So color matching game grade 1, teach colors. So that's a card game that you can play with only colors. Very low level English necessary. Broccoli ice cream. Do you get no broccoli ice cream? Do you like? Is it, do you like broccoli? Is that what it starts? Do you like broccoli? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Do you like ice cream? Oh, it's ice cream first. Okay. Do you like ice cream? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Do you like broccoli? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Do you like broccoli ice cream? Ew, no, I don't. Right, so it goes through. I took that song and made it into a silly song. So the students literally just give food. You have 30 foods written on your board. So you can have stuff like chicken and pizza and hamburgers. You can also have stuff like baozi or dumplings or anything that you want. Anything the students come up with, they put it on there. Then they just write down random foods. You do the song as the lesson in class. The last 10 minutes of class, the students share their own food creations. And they really enjoy sharing it because you always have stuff like, do you like fish? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Do you like milk? Yes, I do. Do you like fish milk? Yeah, no, I do. Sometimes they get stuff like, one of the students' favorites was popcorn pizza. Do you like popcorn? Do you like pizza? Do you like popcorn pizza? The student's like, teacher, yes, I do. Don't say no, I don't. So yeah, a really fun song that you can do. And family for teaching father. Some of these, like family lessons, is everything I made for families. So one will have several different lessons inside. Name and age. Anyway, lots of different stuff. Okay. Lots of fun stuff that you can play. So that is the Google Drive through Facebook. Okay. All right. Next one, Scratch. Is that next on the list? Continuous audio we already did. I think Scratch is the only one left. So very quickly, if you have a computer, you can go ahead and get into it yourself. Search for Scratch MIT. This is made by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And in Taiwan, the students use this in computer class. You guys have seen it before, I assume. I had never heard of it. My son kept asking me, why don't you just use Scratch? Why don't you? Because they don't know how to use Scratch. I had never heard of it before. He came home from school and was telling me about it. Create. And it'll pull up. This is called the Sprite, right? So for your Sprite, all you have to do is event when I click the green flag up here, I don't like that one. When this Sprite is clicked, so when I click on the cat, then he will say meow and where is move? Motion. Motion, he will turn 15 degrees, and there's one he will divide to do the mouse. Applied to, I don't want it to be a random position, I want it to So now if I click this, I'll make it bigger, and I click on him. That's scratch. For adults, it's stupidly easy. For elementary school kids, it's like, oh, and they have to think about different stuff. The most complicated thing I taught was in grade 3, and we use Scratch to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on a guitar. So the way that you do it is, if you trash this guy, you get music. Again, my music is terrible, so you guys, does anybody know how to play? No, nobody knows how to play. Do you know the notes like A, G, then? Okay, you have to help me because I don't know how to do it. Event. So when I click on the sprite, then we have sound and play until it's done. We call. We call. Okay, what is the first one?
C.
C. Second one is
C.
C. Third one is
G. G.
G. Okay, G. I heard a G and an E. Okay.
G.
G.
A.
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 A. G.
Yes.
Okay, so now if I click here. Okay, so the way that we did that in class is you teach them how to use a sprite, how to make a sprite, how to put a new one, you teach them how to change some of the functions. Then you give them some notes and you say, use these notes, but not in this order. And then they have to keep reordering the notes until they figure out what it is. Oh no, because it goes from low to high. Yeah, it goes from low to high. So they put them in order from low to high, and then they click on it, they listen to it, and they recognize the tune, and yay, they're so happy. And then you give them 5 or 10 minutes to play with other instruments and other sounds and stuff. Right? So Scratch is, it's really, really cool for kids to play with. Not very useful for teachers to teach something else using Scratch. Although, people do some amazing stuff with Scratch. My kids are always playing like Mario and stuff. Wow, what is this stuff? Who started for that? Oh my gosh. So Mario, wow. This is all using Scratch, what I just showed you. I've never actually played it before, but I see my students doing all that. Like, how do I do it? Press space to start. Okay. So all this is if I press right, it moves X number of spaces to the right, or it glides, and it switches costumes. One costume is going to be this, one costume is going to be this, one costume is going to be this. If I push up, it goes up. So this is all made in Scratch, and for anything that you find in Scratch, if you play C inside, even when I look at that after doing PowerPoint, oh, that's painful, right? Wow, so much stuff. And then you've got the backdrops over here. Oh, the backdrop doesn't have it. Oh, there's an exit right there. Oh, wow, okay. So, okay. So they don't change the backdrop at all, they just change the Mario backdrop. Okay, so So lots of fun to play with. For me, other than teaching the students, not very useful to use for teaching itself. And I think we've covered all of our major points here. We still have about 20 minutes left. So I will let you guys play with all of the stuff that we talked about today. And if you have any questions, then I will show you on the front while everybody else can continue doing what they want to work on. Right? So please raise your hand and let me know if you have any questions. And I can answer individual, more specific questions for you. So we mentioned the uses of the handouts. Right, so the uses of the handouts first, or follow along. In my opinion, every single lesson you ever teach should have a piece of paper associated with it. In my opinion, you should never open your textbook in class. Even me teaching world geography, my students aren't allowed to use books during the lessons. The book is actually quite heavy, so I tell them just leave it at home for your homework, and then in class, everything is what you learned at home, doing the homework first. Like I said, when I was teaching at Guan, the students weren't allowed to bring their textbook into the classroom. It was forbidden in my classroom. So every single lesson I would have one worksheet, which are all of these things that we talked about today. Because if a student opens the book, all of the answers are right in front of them. If I give you the answers, you're not going to think about answering the question. So that's why all of my worksheets have blanks on them. All of them have something that they have to do. So as I'm teaching, I'm also walking around the classroom making sure that the students are matching or filling in the blanks or coloring or something along those lines. So I highly suggest doing away with the textbook in class. Because basically you're making it really hard for the students to pay attention. Even in a situation like this, if you have all of the information in front of you, you're not going to listen to the person in the front speaking. That's human nature. If I show you something, you're going to focus on that. This goes back to pronunciation. What do people use to listen? What part of your body do you use to listen? No. No. You use your eyes to listen. Why? If I show you something and I say something similar to that, you will hear what you see. An example, it's not 100% because I didn't show you, but because your English is so good, when we listen to, we watch TV, when you heard about the car, you did not hear car. right? You heard park our car. Because you've seen that so many times, your English is already good enough, etc. So you can make that leap. But if you show a student who doesn't have good English, park our car, and you let them listen to, we parked our car out in the garage, you say, what did you hear? They will say, park our car. They did not hear park. They did not hear our. They did hear car. But they will hear what they see first. After you use your eyes, what do you use to listen? Come on, just say it. Your ears. No. What do you use? Your brain was your second answer before, right? If you see something and you still can't make sense of it with your eyes, you will do what you did this morning, which is use your brain to try to understand what you heard, and then you will make that leap to the next one. If you can't understand what you hear with your brain, then you will use your ears. Thank you very much. Yes. Ears is third. Ears is third. This is why oftentimes, if you do the listening the way that I described it, your lowest level students will do better than your highest level students. Because if you play that song, we park our car out in the garage, you say, what did you hear? Your highest level student, your English is so good. They will say, park our car, teacher. And you will say, no! You will go and point to the lowest kid in the class. You will say, what did you hear? They will say, car, car, car. You say, yes, that is exactly right, because they don't see it because you didn't write it down for them. They can't use their brain because their English is not to that level, so they have to rely on their ears. I used to play or teach a song called, and say, we are the champions. We are the champions. My friend, is it out? No, there's not a bicycle. Really stupid song. Same people though, by Queen. Bicycle, bicycle. I like to ride my bicycle, bicycle. Really stupid song. But there's a part in the song where it talks about Peter Pan and Superman and something, 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 something. But the high-level students couldn't get it. The only person who could understand that line, who could repeat that line, was the lowest level student in my class who never did anything. So on that day, that student became a hero. And I'm not exaggerating, that student was never the same again. From that day on, she participated, she listened, because all of the other highest level students in the class who used to look down on her and have zero respect, none of them could sit down because none of them could get the right answer. But she stood up and she said, I want to be like Superman! I said, yes! She said exactly the entire thing, exactly like it was supposed to be. Okay. So you should always have something that the student can do in class. When I was teaching at Goan, I did not give students homework or anything like that because I had 600 students. I taught all of the grade 1 and grade 2 at the same time. There was no way. I gave homework one time. My first week at Goan. Second week at Goan, I had a stack of papers about this high. I said, oh my God, I'm never giving homework. It took me like 2 months just to get their papers back. It was ridiculous. So I never gave homework again, but I did use as fun and engaging stuff as I could, and I would tell them where I got the songs, and they should go home and listen to it and stuff. What I did do was a portfolio assessment. The students just in class, they would come into class. I have pictures of it, but it's in a different PowerPoint. There would be bookshelves lining 2 walls of my classroom because I had 600, actually I had 1,200 folders. But 600 of them would be put in the inside in the cabinets when I wasn't teaching the other 2 grades. But the students would come in, they would go, they would get their folder, pull it off the shelf, go and sit down and open their folder, take out the paper. Or if there was a paper on the front, they would come in, they would take the paper that I put on the front, then they would go take their folder, sit down, write their name, class number, date. So that's how we started literally every single class. If I had to use the same paper twice in a row, 2 weeks in a row, they would just come in, take their folder, take out their paper from last week. Everybody 100% had the paper. You didn't have to worry about somebody forgetting it at home or losing it or stuffing it back in the bottom of the backpack and it getting wadded up and torn and stuff like that. Then at the end of the semester, to give the students their grade, I take all of the folders off of the shelf, flip through, they're all correct, they're all in the correct order, and they're all completed during class, so that student gets their grade based on that. So it's a very useful thing for teaching kids about organization and taking care of their stuff and things like that. It worked very, very well. The graphic organizers is what I showed you the last page on this. I think go to. So this is a graphic organizer. What happens is I will teach them the information first. They have to do this once for every lesson, but one lesson is not one class period. One lesson may be a week or 2 weeks or something like that, depending on how much information is in the book. So this is basically a review for everything that we learned. So we've already learned all of this stuff. They just go back and they complete the graphic organizer. Very useful for using as a review tool for the students. For you guys in your situation, I'm not sure, but something to consider. And then everything else that we did throughout here. A lot of them, like the bag jacks, you will complete during class. The students write down what they steal and where they go. Silly songs, they write words. You write it on the board, they write it on the worksheet. Then they move it around by themselves, stuff like that. Okay. You guys did not ask me to teach you animation and PowerPoint, so we're going to skip this part right here. And digital resources. And this is something that you can 100% use in your classes, right? If you have to teach a story, for example, The Hungry Caterpillar, go to YouTube, search for Hungry Caterpillar. There will be somebody reading that story on YouTube. So students, even the lowest level students in your class, they can go home, borrow their mom's phone, and watch the story on YouTube, which it's not perfect, but it's almost as good as sitting down with grandma and grandma reading the story to them. It gives them that exposure to the language, gives them the background of hearing the story and stuff like that. So they can do that on their own. And literally almost every story that you can imagine, somebody has read it on YouTube. When my kids were growing up, there's something called the Berenstain Bears, which was a series of books that I really liked when I was very young. Yeah, that's good, right? The Berenstain, did you see it on YouTube? Okay. The Berenstain Bears, they made it into a cartoon, which I didn't even know until I had kids. I downloaded every single episode of that cartoon, put it all on an MP3 or the thumb drive or whatever you call it, right? Then my kids grew up listening to those stories when they went to bed. They would lay down and listen to Berenstain Bears as they were going to sleep. After they went to sleep, about 30 minutes later, we would go in and turn it off, and that's it. But they got that. I was the only person in their life speaking English. Most of their English they learned from Berenstain Bears. And they would come and use words that I had never taught them before, which is why I know that it was very effective. I can't remember what the instance was, but my daughter came and she picked up her cup. She looked at me and she asked me a question. And I looked at her and I said, how do you know that word? That word has literally never passed my lips. And she said, Mother's Day. Like, all right, I guess I'm doing all right. My son, we were looking for something, and I asked him, where is this thing? He did not say, it's where we landed. I said, where is this thing? He said, maybe, hey, Skyler, what's the word? The word for disappear in Harry Potter. It's not evaporate. Not vanish. Do you remember the word? What's the word? He's not going to tell me. Oh, wait, there's a word for in Harry Potter. Skyler, what's the word, man?
Starts with a D.
Starts with a D. What's the second letter? Disapparate? It's disapparate, right? Okay, disapparate. So I asked him, where is the cup or something? He said, maybe it disapparated. And I was like, no, I think you mean evaporate. Wait a minute. Because he loved Harry Potter. He listened to it all day. The reading of the audio book, listened to it all day, every day for like 3 years. And when I say all day, every day for 3 years, I mean literally all day, every day for 3 years. Every time he had a chance, he would listen to it. So he would pick up a lot of the words from that. So definitely suggest videos for your kids. They're going to go home and watch YouTube anyway, right? Tell them what to watch on YouTube. Assign them homework. Watch Hungry Caterpillar on YouTube for homework. The kids will be so happy that they get to go home and watch a video for English class. So use that to your advantage. Badanamo, do you guys know Badanamo? Badanamo will change your life. Badanamo changed my career. It is fantastic. The most amazing stuff you will ever see on YouTube. Especially for English teachers. Mu. And it's a joint venture between the UK and Korea. So cute! But they have so many useful songs. We had to do a performance. I taught my kids this dance. Literally, we mapped it out. So my students were up on stage doing it. Awesome! There were a few girls and a few boys. So the boys, I bought them headbands. And on the back, I put Christmas decorations, the long ones that you wrap around the tree. So the boys all had ponytails on the back, and they were whipping around like ponytails. It was awesome! But there are things you can use in class. I'm trying. The animal one. Farm. Is it farm? I think it's farm. Something farm. Oh my gosh, what is that? That's cool. I haven't looked at Badanamo for 3 years now, so I'm sure there's lots of new stuff. Not that one. One with farm. No. Oh, there it is. Zoom party. This is one of the activities that I developed for teaching animals. So, as you can imagine from what you know of me already, the students get animals, they write down random animals. So the whale, the penguin, the tiger, the whatever. Then they write down random onomatopoeia. So, for example, oink, toot, roar, and pop. So then they turn it into their own song. The whale says oink, oink. The whale says oink, oink, oink. Alright, so then you do the silly story thing, but it's all with animals and stuff. Actually, this is one of the worksheets that's on here. So this is the onomatopoeia, and then that's ABCs. So the pig says oink, oink. Where's pig? Pig says oink. The cat says meow. The sheep says. Okay, so you listen to it and then you do it that way. Then you have a card game where you match the animals and their sound. So you have all of the animals from the song, and they're all a picture of the animal and then a picture of the onomatopoeia, which I believe that's the card. Okay. These are the cards. So half of the cards are animals, half of the cards are what they say. So turn over one, and they say, the pig says hiss. No, so then they turn it back over. The next person says, the horse says meow. No, that's not right. The pig said, or then they find the cat. So the cat, they remember meow because they just saw it. The cat says meow. So you're practicing the memory and stuff like that. Right, so Badanamu is amazing. And I also use them for my water song. Oh, and the routines. It's so long. I missed you, bud. Such a great song.
Water is good for so many things. Yeah. Plants and animals, people and fish. We all need water to live. Water is good for so many things. Let's do our best to keep it clean. Yeah. We all need water.
Where is the? There's one where they fold blankets and curl blankets. What would you call it? Fold. It's not going to be right, but. Routines didn't work, right? Daily life. Water is life. I can't remember the name of the song. Like anyway, there's one where they fold, they make their bed, they brush their teeth, they wash their face. So it goes through all of the daily routines. So in one of the lessons for the textbook, you have to teach daily routines. So use that for that. Okay. Oh, I just realized we're out of time. So go back here real quick. So Badanamu is amazing. Okay, New Beat has some really good songs. Super Simple Songs is the one that made Do You Like Ice Cream? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. They have some really, really good songs for teaching English. Kuma Kids, I've used a couple songs from Kids TV 123. Natural Genius has a couple good ones. And then yeah, do a YouTube search for the book title. There's one other thing, if you want to give students homework to watch a video, there's something called Ed Puzzle, which you connect to the YouTube video. Have you used Ed Puzzle before? Yeah, okay. Then you can make questions appear as they watch the video. They have to answer the question correctly to continue watching the video. If they answer incorrectly, they have to go back and watch that section again. So it's very useful if you want to give them homework to do. I don't do that for my kids because I want to give them more range for ideas and things like that. But if you have a specific video you want them to watch and answer questions about, you need to use that. And on the website that I gave you there, it shows you how to do it, how to use that. I've never actually used it myself, but I think it's a really good idea. So, okay, any other questions? Okay, so I think our time is up. Thank you everybody for coming out. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me or line me or anything, and I'll help you out as much as I can. Join the Facebook group, and you can ask ideas. There are a couple hundred members of the group, so you can get ideas from other teachers as well. And I hope to see you all next time. So, thank you very much. Thank you.